Hello and welcome to Beyond the Slipstream. I'm Matt and I'm here with my brother Justin. And on today's show, we're concluding our 2026 Winter Olympics coverage with a deep dive into the gold medal hockey action over the weekend and a few other bits and bobs from Milano Cortina. And then, you smell that? You smell that? Napalm, son. Nothing else in the world smells like that. I love the smell of napalm in the morning. You know, one time we had a hill bomb for like 12 hours, and when it was all over, I walked up. We didn't find one of them, not one stinking racial slur, body. But the smell, that gasoline smell, the whole hill smelled like victory. Someday this podcast gonna end. But today will not be that day as we dive deep into the movie career of the late Robert Duvall, who passed away on February 15th, the same calendar day as our dear old dad. And Justin, can you think of any connection to Robert Duvall that our dad may have had?
I don't know.
I can't either.
Oh, okay.
I
I
knew I
thought you
was
were
I
about
knew
to
I
like
was setting
throw
you up
something out
for
there. Yeah.
some nugget, but no, I just wrote the introduction that
They
way on the
they
fly.
both served very little in the U.S. Army.
hmm I think our dad more than Robert Duvall. I
Yes,
think
I
he only
believe
did
that
like a
Robert
year.
Duvall only spent 1 year in the Army.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, I don't know if there's any connection or not. Perhaps we'll find one when we get into the conversation, but that is going to be in our second segment. We're going to start this week, as far as I'm concerned, with USA versus Canada women's hockey final. Unless you care to make a case for anything else.
I mean, I do believe that those are the A and B topic for sure. Like I said, I have a couple of other neat things that I kind of picked up on throughout the week. So you have your choice. We can either talk about a few cool things that kind of that I discovered throughout the week, and then we can go into and we'll just finish out with hockey, or we could start with hockey and finish with a couple other little tidbits from the end.
Hockey is 100% the A story.
Okay,
Let's start with
then
hockey, and then we'll tack the rest of the stuff on at the end.
sounds good with me.
USA versus Canada women's. I think it was on. Was it Thursday? It was a couple of
Yeah,
days ago. It
Thursday.
was Thursday. Yeah. So these two teams are facing each other in their seventh gold medal game out of eight total gold medal games in the history of women's Olympic
Yes,
hockey.
and Canada
And
owns
Canada,
them 5-2 at this
yeah,
at this point.
5-2. But USA has won the last seven meetings between these two teams, including world championships. So yeah, an interesting dynamic to have going into this game. The first of, as we would find out a day later, two USA versus Canada gold medal games this year.
Yes,
Yeah, let's get into it. What a game!
I mean, I mean, like these two are destined to continue to clash. I mean, since they introduced women's, ice hockey, these have, outside of one Olympics, it's been these two teams, butting heads with each other in gold medal games for years, and this team in and of itself seems to really have Canada's number. So it has been, they were far marked out like that. This was a the run for them.
Yeah, and in contrast to the men's game that we'll be getting into, while this game I found these two teams to play each other somewhat physically, they they were nowhere near on the level that the men were in terms of just it seemed the raw aggression between the two teams. I mean, we saw a history of that going back to the Four Nations
Hmm.
Classic thing or whatever they did, like in the early part of last season, where the teams got in three fights in 20 seconds, the first 20
Yes.
seconds of the.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But it was a pretty physical game, but
So one of the things that I have one of my coworkers is a big hockey fan, and we were discussing, we had this on at work, and we were watching it,
same.
and one of the things that he pointed out I did kind of notice is like it is the game itself is very different from the men's in the sense that like the men's game is a lot more refined. Passes are crisper, setups are just everything's just a little bit more pro, probably because they're pros, but you know the intensity, in my opinion, of the women's game rivals, if not surpasses, the intensity of the men's game because it's a little chaotic, but it's also just this, I mean, ice hockey in general, I've always said, is one of the more brutal sports out there. I mean, it is very, very physical, and you're doing it on a set of razor blades on ice.
Yeah.
And
The speeds are really, really fast.
yeah, well, and there's a lot. I mean, there's just so much going on at once. It's you know, it's tough. But in both cases, both goaltenders acquitted themselves very, very well.
Incredible.
I think the goaltending, in fact, in
incredible.
both games was incredible. So, I'm
And
assuming,
and they each got scored on. So
Yeah.
but neither one of them had a perfect game, and yet we can say very, very plainly that yes, the goaltending was incredible.
but I mean, and that's what you want. You want a low scoring affair in a hockey game. I mean, you can see the differences. When you look at the games for the men leading up to the final, they had a game where it was essentially a blowout, and it's not nearly as interesting as when it's a low scoring affair.
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially when you're talking about the gold medal game, the world championship, etc. I mean, there's so much on the line. The stakes are so high that it's just like, just wild. The sense of urgency is through the roof. So, U.S. gets off to a bad start as Canada scores in the first period. And it was really a beautiful pass that led to that score. Pass from Laura Stacey, one of the team captains, I believe.
Yeah, and that goal was scored shorthanded. So U.S. was on a power play at that time when they scored that goal.
Yeah. However, just before that, the U.S. goalie Aaron Frankel had a great save. They just after that, their the U.S. almost scores in the top of the beginning of the second period, and then in quick succession, Frankel makes another couple of insane saves. Super exciting game.
So this game's on like mid afternoon. I think it started around 3-ish or something like that. And I have like no notes on the game, but I watched the whole thing. I have to tell you a cool little story that happened during this. So
Yeah,
I am streaming it from my phone to the TV in the showroom, and I am watching it on my computer in my office. Not watching the feed on my phone, but the feed on my phone seems to be delayed, and I tried to match them up a little bit, but at some point I got back ahead of that feed. And so it's going, and I have a deal going at the exact same time. So I'm like getting the deal ready. I'm just about ready to go out and talk to these customers, and I'm like, I'm on it, and they're trailing, and they score. And I'm trying to be cognizant of the fact that I know that there's a delay, so I don't respond verbally at all. But I'm so excited that I shoot my hands up in the air, okay? Mm-hmm. And who of all people in the showroom sees me do this but the customer that I'm about to go sign out, right? So it's a husband and a wife, and the wife, immediately I put my arms up and I'm like, making this face. She locks eyes with me, and I'm just like, immediately I'm like, don't say anything. I was like, shh. And she smiled, and 20 seconds later, everybody in the showroom started going crazy because they tied it up. And it was just a very funny interaction when I came out. It was like they were introducing me to them, and I was like, yeah, we already met. We locked eyes a little while ago. And she's like, yeah, we were like fist bumping and all this. It was really, really funny.
So that was your reaction when they tied it?
Yes.
with 2 minutes left in the third period.
Yes.
Absolutely insane. Um, did you did you watch every angle of this goal?
No. I mean, I was like watching it as I was working, so it was very, very like scattered viewing.
So when I first saw it, I thought that Edwards, the woman who fired the puck from like 20 feet out, dead center, like a laser, I thought that she had been the one that scored. I thought she just
It was a
shot one of
redirect,
those
right?
lasers through there and like it just went in because it happened so quickly. But no, Hillary Knight, the team captain, um, tipped tipped the puck purposely. You see her, it's insane
Yeah,
that
she redirected it.
that they can react so quickly. You know what I mean? And she just basically had her stick out and saw the puck coming towards it and like bent it down a little bit so that that puck, she knew that puck instead of going on the ground where she knew the goalie was already back there with the pads down on the ground to block it, she just tilts the stick back ever so slightly, the puck rockets up and it goes right over the goalie's shoulder. I mean, incredible, absolutely incredible. It's like one of the most insane, like just heads up in the moment, just locked in kind of a plays ever. And with that, she goes into first place for most Olympic goals ever scored by a woman at 15.
Do you know what else happened with Hillary Knight
No.
at the Olympics? So her partner is speed skater Brittany Bowe, and the night before this game, they got engaged.
Nice. Everything's gone her way. I love it. Uh, so incredible. They go to overtime. So it's overtime. They do they do 3-on-3 like the men? I can't remember it yet. So they're doing 3-on-3 overtime. This is designed to make victory come quick and hard and mercilessly.
Yeah. I mean,
That's the way
it's
it
meant to
happened in
create
both
a ton of
games.
space. I mean, the whole point of it is
Yeah.
to take players off the ice, which creates a lot more space, which means
Yeah.
that it's going to go faster, and there's going to
Yep.
be a heck of a lot more drama.
And shots on goal and
Yeah.
just everything. So, um, by the way, when they made that tying goal, they had pulled their goalie, so they were
hmm
in a power play situation. And I give them credit. That's a tricky power play when you've got um, six people on the ice instead of five, because you really have to push them around the perimeter.
hmm
You basically got to get two on each side of the perimeter to work the puck around and spread it out. And it can be tricky if, just just because you're tied up against the walls a little bit more.
That's how
Um,
Canada did the same thing. That's how Canada ended up getting the gold medal game.
so uh yeah, to their credit, great job on moving that puck around, getting it to Edwards because she just fired it in there. And my God, that woman, you go back and watch every replay. I even slow mode it. Wasn't so easy, however, to get as good of a view of the game winning goal. Take us through that one.
Essentially, uh, because it's 3-on-3, she gets the separation in the space, and she was able to fire it on in. Like I'm going to be completely honest with you, I don't have notes on this, which is the worst part.
It was Megan Keller. She had
Yeah,
a
it's Megan
solo
Keller.
move. Basically, one of her teammates was down by the other goal, dumped it out to her at like the halfway line. There was one defender on her, so it was her and the defender and the goalie.
Yeah.
And she kind of crossed from the left and fired one in there. And I could not tell. And I watched every single replay very, very closely. It definitely appears that the puck made contact with the goalie somehow, but I could not for the life of me tell whether the puck went over her leg or under her leg. But somehow it just appeared behind her and dropped into the goalie.
Well,
And
that's the thing with the 3-on-3 play is that because it opens up everything so much, you get less scrum in front of the net, and so your shots on goal tend to be a lot cleaner. So, and
yeah,
and look, the people that play hockey at this level, they can you know they can do with a hockey puck what what LeBron James does with a basketball.
Yeah, no, they're
what
amazing.
Tom Brady does with a football. Like they put it wherever they want. Like there's no it's not coincidence. They are placing that puck exactly where they want it to be.
Yeah, and that ball, I mean that puck was moving when it hit the back of the net like it was cooking.
Mm-hmm.
So somehow she fired it and it somehow got past the goalie, and I really feel like it touched the goalie either on the top or the bottom. I feel like the goalie deflected it maybe with a pad or something like that. But in the end, back of the net, U.S. wins, and it is so brutal watching the losers of these games, especially in this situation where it's like you bring in all the politics and the heated rivalry, and it's like, the U.S., the insufferable U.S., they keep kicking our asses. Like you just feel for those Canadians so badly.
And like the toughest thing about especially Olympic hockey, is like you're just there for all the festivities. Like you don't get a chance to just like go.
No, you gotta sit through the whole ceremony
and go first, because you're gonna get your medal first, and then you have to sit there while the other team gets their medal.
And also put that up against nearly every other sport where there's just like 3 people on the podium. It's like, here's yours, okay. 10 seconds later, here's yours, okay. 20 seconds later, here's yours. You're the winner. Good night. No, at the hockey, Patrick, blah blah blah. It takes 10 minutes just to do one team. They're out there the entire time, and you've never seen a group of people more sad to win a silver medal than those guys, because like they're coming away with medals. They're not coming away with the bottom medal. They got the middle medal. They got a medal. And sometimes when you see an Olympic podium, the person or persons who have won silver were an extreme underdog, and they're so happy to have not won gold, to have won a silver medal, that they're just absolutely smiling and beside themselves on the podium. And these guys on the podium are just no smiles.
Yeah, dude, it's horrible.
And then they give them the stuffed animal, and each one of them looks at the stuffed animal like, really, fucking really. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for the stuffed animal. Really, thanks. So, yeah. So brutal watching the losers, but very happy for the U.S. women. My God, that was an exciting game, and really teed it up nicely for the second of this beautiful Canada versus USA doubleheader at the gold medal games of the 2026 Olympiad.
So
Cortina.
I did watch all 3 of the USA games. So they had a nail biter in the quarterfinals. They were up 1-0 late in the third. Sweden scored after pulling their goalie with only 1:30 left in the clock, and USA beat them in overtime to advance. In the semifinal game against Slovakia, they just beat up on them. I mean, it was no contest. I mean, it ended up being, I think, 6-2.
Yeah, 6-2.
And it was never in doubt. Hellebuck had a great game. Everybody in that particular game was very good. And then Canada had a nail biter to get in, because Canada lost Sidney Crosby to injury in the quarterfinals, and did not have him for the semifinal game with versus Sweden, and Sweden tied it up with 36 seconds left in regulation. All right, and after trailing the entire game essentially, and so it goes into overtime. They were able to, obviously to overcome, which sets up, the USA Canada. Obviously, USA has not won a gold medal. They haven't won a medal, since 2012, I believe, or 2010. Sorry, no, 2012. And, and that was a silver medal. They haven't won a gold medal in this sport. They've only won a gold medal in this sport 3 times. 1960, 1980 was the last time, the Miracle on Ice. And so they haven't won a gold medal in this sport in 46 years.
Yeah.
And it sets up. They have a very very good team with the Hughes, the Kachuk brothers, Hughes, Hellebuck. They've got a hell of a squad. And going into this final game, and it did not disappoint for a second.
No, I mean it's just like these high stakes games like this, they go by in the blink of an eye. I mean, you just can't get enough. It's just they are electric to watch these finals. You know what I mean? There is no chill moment in these finals at all, man. They are going for it. And yeah, I mean, the story of the day, I think, is Hellebuck. I mean, the guy was absolutely incredible, and they had a very long 5-on-3 uh, power play situation in the second period, and he got through that quite nicely. Um, yeah, really amazing game. Did you catch the moment second period when the assistant captain on the American team, he was right about to skate right into a dude's face, and he like leaped over him, and they had called the play dead.
I guess I didn't catch
A
that.
guy's coming down the ice towards the goal, but to the right of it, and like gets tripped or something and falls to the ground, but he's moving and like slides right into the wall. Well, just at that second, this American guy is like curving around the wall, and like you see the dude stop at the wall with his face on the ground, like staring right at the guy's skates, and the dude is coming, the skates are coming right at him, and he has no choice but to just leap over him. And the camera angle is from behind, so you see him like leap over the guy, but does not stick the landing, and he like sprawls all over the floor. They did not show the replay of that. I was quite disappointed because it was kind of wild. Uh, to be noted, a lot of brawling in this game, man. These teams were at each other's throats from the jump.
Yeah, very physical game. Um, you know, to their credit, the U.S. These are two superstar laden teams. All right.
Yeah,
I mean, these are the best of the best in men's professional hockey.
right.
They by far, outnumber, their squads far outnumber, the other countries with the amount of pros that are on these teams. Canada captained by Sidney Crosby, who did not really, didn't factor into the final.
Well,
And
he didn't play in the
yeah,
final.
the he scored the winning goal back when they won the
The Four
silver back
Nations.
in 2010.
Oh,
Yeah. So he had the amazing game winning goal, 16 years ago against the same, against the same American, well, not the same American squad, but against the Americans. So, this is a very, very different thing, and widely considered to be one of America's best shots at winning a gold medal in many many years. Because since then, the pros have not played in the Olympic hockey. So this is like, and I had to get somebody to explain this to me that. I'm assuming it's part of their CBA. So like sometimes they just all agree that they're not going to play in the Olympics, and they haven't played in the Olymp. The pros, the NHL pros have not played in the Olympics since that year.
interesting.
Yeah. So
Wow.
ends up, being a tie game going into overtime, and you literally can't script it any better because at that point, I would say that Canada had the momentum, and I feel like the U.S. had the momentum in the kind of the first half of the three periods, and starting mid second period, it seemed like Canada really came on and definitely dominated in
What happened with the first goal? Because I know that Canada tied it up like inside of 2 minutes left in the second period. Canada ties it up. Um, I, I did not make a note as to what uh, the U.S.'s first goal was. Did
It
you?
was a breakaway goal. I mean, it was just a 2-on-1 breakaway, and they were able to get it by. I mean, it was just he didn't really stand a chance on it.
Right, right. So yeah, so that when after Canada tied it up right at the end of the second, and we had like another moment of like fisticuffs right there before the period ended, it was just teeing up the third period just so well. Like my God, this is going to be 20 of the most exciting minutes of my year. You can just like feel it coming.
Yeah, and
Um,
I went. I must have gone ooh, 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 15 times.
Yeah, especially that crazy moment. There was a near miss that hit the post,
Yes,
and the
and
puck was loose in the crease in front of the U.S. Goal. Everybody scrambling for it,
and
and
it's
somehow
oh,
Holly Buck like lands on top of it.
and when it hits the post like that, I mean, you get a 1 inch to the right, and that's a goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, so close. I mean, well, it's funny. I knew I would bring up at some point the fact that I was texting with Steve Romer throughout this game. There's certain sporting events like last year or the 2 years ago when it was the World Cup, and I just knew that he was watching this particular sporting event, and I can just start texting him with no question that we are about to be engaged in a text conversation. And this was one of those moments for sure. I immediately started texting him in the beginning of the game, and it was on like Donkey Kong, and what was the point that he was making? What were you just saying?
That it's a razor's edge. I mean, if that puck's 1 more inch to the right, it's a goal versus
Right,
it
right. And he's
bouncing
like,
out and creating all of that chaos in the front of the goal.
well, he says, and he makes the very wise comment. I think he's completely right. He goes, all sports are about inches. And it's true. It's totally true. Yeah, that was a crazy moment. And then Canada gets a high sticking penalty, 4 minutes. The guy just like slams his stick right into the dude's face,
Yes.
right in front of the ref. And so now the U.S. has got a power play for 4 minutes
Yeah,
at the end of the third
which
period.
is going to take them up to I think like 49 seconds.
Right.
Right.
And then there's some kind of penalty to the U.S. in that time that takes some of that time off.
Well,
But
so they don't offset, but it brings them to even.
or yeah,
It
yeah,
makes them even, but then it's going to put Canada on a power play for the last minute essentially of the
right.
game.
Right. But nobody is able to convert on any of those situations. And so we are headed once again to another
Three on
sudden
three
death,
overtime.
three on
Yes. Now,
three overtime.
in this case, they play until someone wins. So, in the prior games, they would play one period this way, and then they would go to a shootout, but no
Uh,
shootout in the final.
got it. Got it. Well, just as we said with the women's game, like this is not going to last long. You know, it's not going to last long. Hold on to your hats because it's about to go down. Um, and yeah, it was just a few short minutes into the first period there. What was the guy's name?
Hughes.
Yeah, Mandy was telling me all this stuff about like how uh, he's really big with like the young girls and stuff like that. Not my kids in particular,
Right, right,
but
right.
like she told me some anecdote I can't remember about somebody wanting to go and see that guy or something. I can't remember. But just a wild moment, and once again, uh, the sheer elation of USA making good after what did you say it was 44 years,
46.
46 years, and the difference between the U.S. going nuts and the Canadians just
Dude, I thought they were
just
going to break the rink. Okay,
destroyed.
so Hughes gets loose. It's essentially him with the one defender and the goalie, and he puts a move on the guy that's on him, and the puck kind of gets a little squirrely, but he gets it back just in time to put a shot on goal, and he gets it past him. It looked like to me at least glove side, and you know buries it in the back of the net, and it's so fast, like it happens
Yeah,
so
yeah,
quick, and it's just like, but and
yeah.
and
He almost had a delayed reaction to it
yes,
as because as he peeled off, I'm not sure he knew whether it had gone in or not, and so he kind of circled back and realized it like a second later.
well, and the big thing is like you could see like instantly the goalie was just like, oosh, head down. Like,
That's
yeah.
gotta just, it's the worst, it's the single worst moment of that person's life.
Oh, absolutely.
They just gave up the Olympic
Yeah.
gold.
Yeah.
Oh,
Totally.
man, that's rough. That's gotta be so rough.
That's interesting. So it you know, it goes without saying. It was one of those moments that for me was just like I was getting choked up on it. It was, it's everything that you want in a sporting event. It really is. You know what I mean? It's all the things that you want. You know what I mean? It gives you, it's hard to be proud to be an American right now. Because there's a lot of things going on that are, I would not label as anything to be proud of. And so,
Well, that kid that shot the game-winning goal, he sure is proud to be an American.
yes, he is.
Because he said it like 6 times in his interview.
There was a really sweet moment with there is a professional that died young, had 2 kids.
Oh, it's so sad. That story is so sad. He also died with his brother.
Yeah, did you see that
it was like the day before his wedding or
they
something?
brought his daughters out to take the photo with them?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they were
so
carrying
sweet.
his jersey around. I wish I'd made a note of the guy's name. We were pretty wrapped up at that point, and I was like, I put the computer down. I was watching.
Yeah. So did I. I was not taking great notes at that point.
Nonetheless, an incredible game. I have one more thing I want to mention, and then let's get on to some of this other
Sure.
Olympic stuff. And that is 2 more things. The first one is Sweden's uniforms in the quarterfinal game. So sick. The yellow with the black, and they had the black stripes, and they had just like the 3 like black crowns or whatever it
Yes.
is on the thing. And then you thought nobody could outdo that, and then you saw Canada's in the finals with the
red and the black.
and the black, the
Yeah.
black Canadian maple leaf, and then they also had the black stripes. Both of those uniforms are just sick. Loved them. So
Hockey
the
hockey does a great job with uniforms, dude. Like you should go through and look at the entire NHL because they do a really, really good job.
let's make it a segment sometime. I'm going to move on. Let me hit mine real quick,
Sure.
and then I'll turn it over to you, and you can close it out. Ski mountaineering. So I saw an article from Slate magazine pop into my feed. It said, "Say no to skimo." I thought this new winter Olympic sport would be fun. I couldn't have been more wrong. So I was not able to read this article, but I didn't need to read this article because I'm afraid to admit that I think it's kind of right. Like this sport is boring.
It's
Man.
a lot going on for nothing to happen.
Yeah, well, exactly, and like
It's physically demanding, but you can't really
they look
understand
like
the
they
physicality
look like they're
of it.
walking.
Yeah.
That's my issue. They just look like they're walking up the like they're not like
Right.
like it's not like a cross country skiing where there's no
Yeah, it looks like the skis are an impediment to their movement. That's all.
It's like they're just walking up a hill and like in a line. It's just it lacks something, and I'm sure that it is very exciting for the people competing. I'm sure that they're pushing their VO2 max and everything, but I watched some of it, and it's
I couldn't agree more.
yeah, there's a
Sorry,
lot going
Quinn.
on. Yeah, when they're changing, they got all these transition stations, and the skis are going on, and the skis are going off, and it's kind of like
Yeah.
so.
And it all
Anyways.
happens in 3 minutes, but it's like what when they're finished, you're like, what did I just watch? Who won? Yeah, I don't know. So I had a couple of quick things. Did you catch Nazgul the dog?
No, I saw this in your notes, but I did not read it.
So
There you go.
Nazgul, all right, what a great name, was a wolf dog that got into the mix and ran down the cross-country ski track during the qualifying round.
I did see Nazgul.
Yes.
I did. Now that you mention it,
Yes.
okay.
Great name, by the way. Another thing so I was like purposely like trying to bounce around to different sports. Found out that there is a brother-sister half-pipe freestyle skier team, okay, both Americans, Burke and Sve Irving, who happen to be the grandchildren of literary legend John Irving, you know, the world according to Garp.
Wow.
Yes,
That guy's grandkids are competing in
Yes.
snowboard in the Olympics.
2 Olympians for grandchildren.
Yeah, AI could never write that storyline.
No, they couldn't. And then my last thing was also while I was watching the freestyle, and you saw this. I sent you the crash of Nick Gepper. So in the freestyle halfpipe skiing, which U.S. did end up winning. Alex Ferreira threw up a amazing run that ended up being the gold medal run, but Nick Gepper was putting together what would be, all right, had he completed it, the sickest run of ski freestyle ever. Puts 4 perfect, jumps.
Massive tricks.
Yes,
Like,
massive tricks together. And on the third, he goes for what would have been the hardest trick ever in freestyle skiing halfpipe history, and just barely misses it. He overcooks it, puts himself out of position.
Just barely. I wouldn't say just barely. I would say he missed it by 2 feet because he slammed down on
he
the
went
top
way
of
well.
that,
He went way
that
deep.
ramp.
He just went too deep into the trick, and he ended up being in a pretty horrific fall that everybody immediately held their breath. As they watched it. He did get up of his own accord and walk off and play around, showing the act, pretending like his back was like started doing the old man walk. But it was like, I mean, to be like, I didn't obviously know that it had happened, and it just happened for me naturally as I was watching it. Whew, bananas, because I was like, holy moly. As soon as it happened, I was like, wait, what happened? And I just kept rewinding and kept watching it. So it was pretty crazy. And then did you catch any of the closing ceremonies?
I did not. I saw none of
So
it.
worthwhile if you want to go back and watch. They closed these ceremonies in a Coliseum in Milan. Okay. And it was this like backstage at the opera type of situation where they were like blending live action stuff with like video parts. Cool. Super cool. Very, very, very neat. Then they did the Parade of Nations and all that stuff. But the first part of it is super cool, worthwhile. It's a very cool venue that they're in, bringing everybody into this like ancient Roman Colosseum. It's all open air. It's really, really, really was beautiful.
It sounds cool.
Yeah.
I scrolling through your notes a little bit. I saw that the one note you had for ski mountaineering is you said the sport is nuts beautiful to watch in the snow.
Yes.
And I also failed to read 2 of my notes on ski mountaineering, which is this. For one thing, it's kind of like the cyclocross of skiing, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you think about it, it's on an enclosed little course. There's a bunch of ups and downs. There are like sort of transition areas where you just like in cyclocross, some places you got to get off your bike and carry it and get back on it and stuff like that. So in a way, it's like the cyclocross of skiing. You only do it one time. It's not like a laps type of a thing. But there is some crossover there, and I kind of like that. And then also, if you noticed, they would give you the shot from on top of the hill and looking down the slope. And behind the slope, they had a massive like grandstand. So you could like go to a place, grab a beer, park it in the thing, and like watch this thing play out in front of you and probably have a pretty good view and like be able to kind of.
Well, because it's all very enclosed. They go up and come back down. They go up and come back down. Yeah.
But I also thought that it was just a go up one time and come back down, but it's not. But it's not like that. They go up and come down, and then they go back up again and they come down. Right. So, not the worst thing in the world, maybe. But we'll continue the conversation. Stay with us because when we come back, we are talking all things Bobby D, baby.
Don't miss the Team Bus, our weekly podcast about pro cycling, and oh, did I mention pro cycling? We're kind of obsessed. Dropping into your usual podcast feeds every Wednesday.
All right, we're back, and we, as a culture, as a people, lost the great Robert Duvall back on February 15th. The same same day of the year that our father passed away a few years back. Robert Duvall was, an ubiquitous actor over the last 50 years, and was in some of the greatest films of all time, and certainly some of the films that you and I have spent many an hour discussing, watching, etc. over the years. Apocalypse Now is probably in the top 5 movies that I've seen the most in my life, for sure. Probably the one, too, that was sort of my first remembrance of a Robert Duvall performance. Just because I remember seeing that movie like when I was in high school and being deeply touched by it then in a number of ways. And certainly that performance is iconic as any of them, I'll wager, and sort of a good representation of a lot of what he brought to a character. That's probably why I chose to read it off in the introduction. How'd you like that, by the way?
I did. I liked it a lot.
Thank you. So, yeah, so I don't even know where I was going with that. I have, he's been omnipresent in my life and turned in just many a performance that just really was important to me. So, we're gonna get all into it. I don't even know how you would like to frame the conversation. You
I
have any
mean, more or
thoughts on
less, here I'll give just a little, just a couple of like about him notes. So, he was born January 5th, 1931. He started acting in 1952. He spent 1 year in the Army, and then his feature film debut. All right, so this wasn't his first technical acting credit. This is his feature film debut. Was as Boo Radley in 1962's To Kill a Mockingbird, based on the Harper Lee classic.
Yeah, so that's like a movie that I did not come to until I was well into my adulthood. I had heard of the book. I don't think I ever read it. But at some point,
Which I think it's crazy that his first movie role is essentially the red herring in To Kill a Mockingbird.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's how
a
I
lot. I mean,
classify Boo Radley's characters. Like everybody was kind of like, like, ooh, what's this guy about? And then he ends up being the one that kind of doesn't he and like end up saving them in the end?
yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, the whole
like
plot turns upon
yeah,
his character. It's iconic, and at the same time, it's a non-speaking role. Basically, he
yeah,
doesn't
more or
speak
less. It's
in the
a
movie.
small role. It's a role in mention a lot.
Yeah, and yet at the same time, his essence is there in that performance. You know what I mean? Like the essence of Robert Duvall in a lot of ways is there in that performance. I should mention at this point that there's a, classic cocktail called the Boo Radley. It's made in a martini glass, and it consists of 2 shots of bourbon, 3/4 of a shot of Chinar, a half a shot of cherry hearing, and it's garnished with an orange peel. It's a riff on a Manhattan, obviously, and quite tasty. I do recommend the Boo Radley cocktail if ever you happen upon it on a cocktail menu out in your life. Yeah, the list of hits to come after Boo Radley in To Kill a Mockingbird were, pretty strong. I mean, in the earlier part of his career, this guy was in Bullet, he was in True Grit, he was in MASH, he was in that, the George Lucas's like pre-Star Wars THX 1138. Yeah, so he was just like doing cool stuff.
So I made a list of the ones that like stand out to me personally.
Mhm.
So Godfather 1 and 2, The Killer Elite, Network, obviously Apocalypse Now. He was in The Natural. All right. He's in Lonesome Dove, which my wife is a huge fan of Lonesome Dove because of her grandfather. And we talk about Gus McCrae from Lonesome Dove all the time. He was in Days of Thunder. He was in Newsies. All right. He was in Falling Down with the tremendous Michael Douglas film.
Yeah. Well, and he arguably like steals the show in that film too,
He steals the show in a lot of things. I hate to tell you, but he's the kid's father in Sling Blade.
Yeah.
You forget that.
He crops up in all of these like incredible movies because he was such a he could, he could take on a leading role for sure.
But he could also be
But
side
like
character.
that guy, yeah,
Totally.
he could slip into a character role like no problem.
He did this string of like, you know, big budget movies. He was in Impact. He was in Gone in 60 Seconds. He was in John Q. So he did, you know, a disaster movie, a Nick Cage movie, a Denzel Washington movie. He did Gods and Generals, which is amazing. He plays Robert E. Lee in Gods and Generals. Open
He also
Range.
played Eisenhower early in his career.
Yes, he did.
The guy could do anything.
Open Range. That was a western. One of his funniest roles that I can ever remember was he's Will Ferrell's dad in Kicking and Screaming, and has like a late in life kid, and it's their kids are like going up against each other in the soccer, and they're both
Right.
coaches. It's so
Right.
so funny. He was in the movie Get Low, and then my personal favorite movie, and it is I'm sure not one that gets a lot of critical acclaim. He did a movie with Michael Caine and Haley Joel Osment in
Michael
2000.
Caine.
Michael Caine in the early 2000s. I want to say it's like 2002 or 4 or 6, somewhere like that. And it's called Secondhand Lions. And
Yeah, I've heard of that.
it is just one of my it's one of my favorite movies, like, period. It's one of those things where when I heard that he had passed away, I immediately like went in and sat down with my wife, and like that evening, and I went and I found this movie and I put it on. And it's, you know, it's nothing spectacular. It's kind of cheesy in certain things, but, you know, he plays this really great character, and it encapsulates the way that he would take on roles. And while they, you know, seemingly had a lot of these like similar through lines of, you know, a lot of times I'll say that Denzel's just being Denzel in this movie versus a next movie.
Mhm.
He, you know, he had a lot of that same thing where he would have, especially later in life, where he was in, you know, where he was playing these wizened individuals, you know, and imparting, you know, his wisdom on the main character. And he gives a couple of different like really great speeches in that movie, but
Is it a comedy?
yeah, it's comedy drama. So it's the three of them plus a bunch of different people pop up. What's Kevin Bacon's wife's name? Keira Sedgwick pops up in it. A couple other people that you would recognize throughout, but more or less those are the thing. But he has this one scene where, and they're kind of, you know, they're older. They play these two uncles to Haley Joel Osment, like great uncles, and they're very reclusive, and everybody's afraid of them. They're very gruff and grumble, and of course, Haley Joel Osment shows up. He's the cute kid, and he breaks down all their barriers, and, you know, makes, you know, it's blah blah blah. That's essentially the thing. But he is like a former French Foreign Legion fighter, okay, that has like lived this insane life. And at one point he has a heart attack, okay? And after the heart attack, they go to like some general store. It's set in like the 1950s. And they go to some general store and they're eating barbecue, and these greasers come in and they start messing with them. And Michael Caine, who's kind of like mousy throughout the whole thing, is like, just, you know, you just got out of the hospital, Hub. His name's Hub. You know, he's like, don't go crazy on these kids. So he ends up grabbing this kid, and he gives this little speech. I mean, this is my little speech that you versus yours, because I think it's great. It's worth. I clipped it in there, so go watch it when we're done. But he says, "I'm Hub McCann. I fought in 2 world wars and countless smaller ones on 3 continents. I led thousands of men into battle with everything from horses and swords to artillery and tanks. I've seen the headwaters of the Nile and tribes of natives no white man had ever seen before. I've won and lost a dozen fortunes, killed many men, and loved only one woman with the passion A flea like you could never begin to understand. That's who I am. Now go home, boy. And
Yeah, he could deliver a speech.
God, man. And it's just like one of the things that, you know, it just, I think of him in these roles throughout my life where he like pops up sometimes as a main character, sometimes as a side character, and never once did he ever disappoint me and make me go like, why the fuck is he in this movie? Always, always brought it, you know, to a 10 every single time. And, you know, it's sad. It's sad when we lose actors like this because, you know, with the content wars of the current age, like, I don't know that we're ever going to look back on. I mean, we'll look, you know, I don't know. I just don't know that we will ever get guys like this whose careers span decades and have touchstones in every era of their life that they were an actor. And it's,
I'm sure there's guys like that are out there. You know, they all, you know, we lose some of them every year. I mean, he was one of the greats. He was, you know, very memorable. For me, there was, you know, it's a handful of movies. So for my preparation, I wanted to try to fill in some blind spots on his career that I thought would be important. So I watched two of his films that I had not seen. Number one, I watched the one that he won the Academy Award for, which was Tender Mercies. And then I also watched The Great Santini. And these are two roles from kind of the middle portion of his career. I think Tender Mercies was like 71 and Great Santini was like 79, something like that. And in one, he plays a character that you really expect of him, and then in the other one, it's totally different performance. So in Tender Mercies, he plays a country music star who is like down on his luck, and ends up he basically at the beginning of the movie he wakes up in a hotel room and stumbles outside to see that he has somehow ended up in a hotel that's part of a little gas station that's on a lonely road in the middle of Texas someplace. And he's got no money. He was out cold for like 2 days straight. And when he wakes up, the lady that runs the place says, "Oh, your buddy that was here with you took off in your car yesterday. He said he couldn't wait for you." So now he's got no money, no car. And he asked the lady if he could start doing work around the place. And she's like, "Yeah, but you can't do any drinking." And it's just like a quiet, kind of slow moving film about this dude and how he sort of rehabilitates himself and comes to integrate himself into the lives of these people. It has echoes in another movie that I really, really like.
Tender
that
Mercies was 1983. I'm looking it up for you.
Oh, I thought it was like 80, maybe. Oh, maybe it was. Wait, Tender Mercies was 83.
Yes.
Oh,
Max
okay.
Sledge.
Yeah, Max Sledge.
Great Santini was 1979.
Okay, Santini 79, 83.
Santini was his follow-up after Apocalypse Now.
Yeah, so he can really play like a cowboy, a southern kind of person. Like that's one of the archetypes that he falls like very well into.
Texas,
And
a lot.
yeah, I mean the way that the man looks in like cowboy boots and a cowboy hat and jeans in Tender Mercies is just iconic. You know, just absolutely iconic. He just looks like he so looks the part. And famously in that movie, he's playing this country music star, former star, and he does all of his singing. So as another one of the parallels to this other movie that I'll talk about. I talk about it now. It's as soon as I start watching this movie, I'm realizing, oh, this is just like Crazy Heart. You ever see Crazy Heart?
Yeah.
Guess who's in Crazy Heart?
Robert
Duvall.
Yeah.
Plays the dad of the Jeff Bridges character, who's basically playing a different version of the character that Duvall played in Tender Mercies. A little bit less likable version, I'll say. But you know, the dude abides. El Deuterino if you're not into the whole brevity thing. Um, uh, and I love that movie. Like the music in Crazy Heart is so good, and the music in this one was so good. So a lot of interesting parallels. You know, I don't think he beat out anybody too great to win that Best Actor Oscar that he got for that movie. It was a fine performance, and I will say that there's a really good piece of acting towards the end when he's out hoeing in the garden and talks to his wife. Um, that's a that's a beautiful scene. So that was a good one. And then the other one, have you seen either of these? Have you seen Great Santini?
I definitely have not seen Great Santini. No.
So I knew what Great Santini was. I knew it was a movie about a family, and he played the dad, who calls himself the Great Santini, and that he was abusive to his kids. But I had it in my head, and this was confirmed recently by somebody I was listening to talking about this movie on a podcast. I had in my head that like the violence in this movie of like parent to child violence in this movie that he perpetrates was like really bad. Um, and I thought it was much more mild than I was expecting. It seemed just like kind of like a conventional 80s movie. And yeah, he played a very unlikable dude in that movie, but they kind of let him off easy in the end. And like, I didn't think that movie was very good. And I'm pretty sure he got nominated for the Academy Award for that movie. He's got several nominations. I think he has like seven. He got like seven nominations over his career or something like that. Um, but not not super impressed with that movie, and his character was just loathsome. Um, so yeah,
I think it's kind of crazy. Like now that I'm really going through his as I'm sitting here going like looking at his filmography, another couple of movies kind of jump off the page at me. Um,
I
he
still have one big one that I
oh
want to
go
talk
ahead
about.
go ahead go ahead.
No. Go, no, I
Well,
want to see if it comes up on your list.
so he did The Handmaid's Tale back in 1990. So I didn't
Like a
even
movie version of The
a
Handmaid's
movie's
Tale.
version of The Handmaid's Tale, yes. And
Holy
it's
crap! I'd
exactly
love to
this.
see that.
It's exactly the same. It's definitely the same story because it's the dystopian whatever. And the main
Hmm.
character in that one's played by Natasha Richardson.
No kidding. I've
Yeah,
got to see that. All
yeah.
right, go ahead. What else?
Ramblin' Rose.
That's one I would love to see.
Yeah, I'd love to rewatch that. I forgot about this one too. I don't know how I missed this one. He played Stalin in that
Wow.
in the biopic.
So he's played Stalin, Eisenhower, and
Correct.
Robert E. Lee.
Yes.
I want to see a side by side picture of him in all three of those roles.
And I mean, he did a couple of other ones. He was in the remake of the Scarlet Letter in the mid '90s, and then he was like he does it's like it's. I mean, he definitely was like a guy that didn't mind taking a paycheck because he was in the movie Phenomenon with John Travolta. Oh, one that we're totally forgetting is The Apostle.
That's the one
Okay, all
that I
right,
want to
go
talk
on.
about at
Talk.
length. I'm not forgetting about The Apostle at
Okay.
all. It's probably my favorite film of his. Well, that and Apocalypse Now, I would have to say. Um, if we're especially if we're talking about a Robert Duvall movie, that is a Robert Duvall movie from top to bottom. He also directed that movie. I don't know if you're aware of that.
I am not aware of that.
Yeah, that was like his big project, and there
Also, a
is.
Texas movie, by the way.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. And there's yeah, he plays a very southern kind of guy in there. There's a scene in that movie. It's actually like a bit of a montage. It's one scene, but it's sort of three scenes strung together. Um, and part of sort of a longer sort of kind of part of the movie where you see his coming up. So he plays a preacher in this movie, and the movie opens with him as a very small child being walked into a black Southern church at the hand of like a large black woman. And you get the idea that he is somehow been adopted. He's a little white boy that's somehow been adopted by this black lady, or she's looking after him or something, because he's going to church with her, and they sit down in the pew, and what we're seeing is this is a charismatic preacher church, and that's one thing to say about this movie. The preaching that goes on in this movie is like on a different level. It's really, really wild. This is a subculture that I would love to dig into because it is show business as much as it is, it's show business about Jesus basically, and about God.
I mean, that's the whole
Christian.
That's the whole Joel Osteen thing. I mean, that's
Right.
It's the Jimmy Swaggart.
Right. But where that whole thing was at this moment in time, at this level, is quite fascinating to me. We get in quick succession, we get to see him. So they show him at his house, and there are he's outside of a house, and his wife, who's played by Farrah Fawcett, and some kids are getting in a car, and he's like seeing them off, and everything's like looking good, like seems like these people are all happy, the kids all love him and everything, and off they go, and he seems like he's in a good mood, and he's like, just like alive with the spirit, and he jumps in the car, and you see that where he's setting off, you figure out that he is set off on like a little swing where he's going to be doing some Pentecostal preaching, going out there and earning his pay, because he is like a personality. Like you can liken it to the speaking circuit, or you can liken it to like bands going out and getting gigs and stuff like that. Right. And the first place that he goes, it's a revival tent, and there's a little stage in front of like 40 people inside this tent, and there's like 6 preachers up on stage, and it's like they're passing the mic back and forth. It may as well be like a freestyle, show, and a bunch of rappers up on stage, because they all have their own sort of thing, but they're all working it into this framework. And it starts on Robert Duvall, and you notice that he's like wearing a white suit. All the rest of them are wearing dark colored suits, so he kind of looks like he's the main attraction there, and the he starts off and he says, what does he say? I don't know. He uses a particular turn of phrase. And then the next guy that he passes the mic to picks up on that turn of phrase and starts rolling with it. And then the next person starts rolling on it. And it's just this crazy freestyle. And you're like, wow, that was amazing. Like the energy, everything about it is just like, I didn't even realize that this kind of thing went on. This is wild. And then they pivot from that to an entirely different thing. He's still preaching, but now it's him and one other dude. They're on the stage of like a big fancy church, and they're on opposite sides of the stage, both behind a podium. Everything is like very stately, and there's flags and everything. And in the audience, it's all black men. And I think they might all be wearing sunglasses. It looks like very Nation of Islam. And they're basically doing a chant where the two preachers go back and forth. One of them says something, asks a question. The answer to the question is Jesus, and everybody in the audience is like, Jesus. So like Robert Duvall's up, and he's like, when I am in the valley of darkness, who is by my side? Jesus. And then like the other guy's like, he's got a distinctly different voice, and he's like, no, Jesus. And you can just see the joy in Robert Duvall's face. I mean, his performance in this movie is absolutely stunning. He is so believable as this character. He has this character so integrated. I mean, to me, it is the quintessential example of what this guy is so good at, because you can love him and you can hate him in this role. And you are as torn as everybody in his life is as to who he is. He is an absolute hero, and he is an absolute villain, all in the same guy. I mean, unbelievable performance, and a bunch of great side performances in that movie too. What are your thoughts on it? I've been talking for an hour.
It's a great movie. I know that he was nominated for an Oscar, and right now I'm looking to see who he was up against.
Oh, I have it. I was looking the same thing. It was Matt Damon for Good Will Hunting, Peter Fonda for Yuli's Gold, Dustin Hoffman for Wag the Dog, and the winner, Jack Nicholson in As Good as It Gets, a performance which I very much liked and have quoted on many occasions. Would you like to hear the two lines that I love from that
Sure.
movie? When he goes to his agent's office and the little secretary is there and she sees him and she's like all enamored of him. And she runs up and she's like, Mr. Udall, how do you write women so well? And he goes, I just think of a man and then take away reason and accountability. What of a line. What a line. Just completely shuts her down. And then the other one is another one where he shuts somebody down. The neighbor like comes to the door and is like to his door, he's like this, what is he? He's like a germaphobe or whatever, and just doesn't like people. He's a misanthrope. He's a misanthropic germaphobe. And the neighbor comes and is asking him about, or no, he's trying to. A salesperson or something comes to the door. Somebody, and his line to dismiss them is, "Sell crazy someplace else. We're all full up here." Ouch.
And the other thing, it's like, it's funny to hear you talk about the apostle that way, because like, I guess I remember more of and I need to go back and watch this movie because it's been a very, very long time since I've seen it. Like, doesn't he like beat, like, isn't the whole crux of it that his wife was cheating on him and he like beats up the guy?
Yeah, he goes on the run. He literally hits the guy with the baseball bat in front of the Little League game, like in front of dozens of eyewitnesses, and he realizes,
and like puts him in a coma.
Yeah, and he realizes that he has got to disappear immediately, and he jumps in the car, takes off. He sinks the car in a lake, and then
he ends up like working at a radio station, right? Like as a janitor.
First, he lives off the land. Like itinerant with like some old black fisherman, and he's living in a tent. And then there's a lot of parallels throughout his career, like in some of these movies I've been talking about, like in Tender Mercies, where he like wakes up drunk and then he's asked the lady if he can live there. Same thing in this movie. He's like, hey, can I stay here, and catch fish with you? And and then ultimately finds himself another church and just starts building himself up from the ground up.
Yeah, I definitely need to go back and watch that movie again.
There's also another incredible scene in the beginning of the movie where he's driving down the road with what I believe is his mom and comes upon a car crash. Do you remember that scene?
Mm-mm.
It's like basically the opening. It comes after the little debut with like him as a child, but there's been a car accident like out on a rural highway, and some cars have flown off the road. And he comes up upon it just as the police have just arrived. There's no ambulances or anything. And he pulls over and he kind of gets a look around and he sees one of the cars like out in the field. So he's got his Bible in his hand. He goes running down there to see, the state of the people in the cars. And he comes upon a young couple who have been in this car crash. And he realizes that the woman in the passenger seat might be dead. She seems to be motionless, but the kid in the driver's seat is clearly alive. You can see his chest moving and his eyes are open. And Duvall basically like gives him his last rites. He's like, will you accept Jesus in your heart? Blah, blah, blah. And like the kid is like thanking him by the end of it as he expires. I mean, it's like the heaviest scene, but a great like insight into Duvall's personality, because he gets back in the car and he says, Mama, we just got somebody into heaven today. A soul's gone to heaven because of us today. Because we pulled over, there's a soul headed to heaven. Like to him, it was like this great victory that he had just achieved, even though he got a little pushback on it from the cop who like ran down there to tell him, get away from the car. This could be a crime scene. This could, you know what I mean? Like you can't be in there or whatever. He had already sort of said his piece with the kid, and he was almost on that same cloud that he was on when he was getting ready to take off preaching. I mean, it was very clear that the love of God was like deep in this man's soul in this performance. Really, really just fascinating movie. I don't know why I was so touched by it, because I'm a stone cold atheist, but there's something. There was a guy I worked with. He was one of the people that worked for me when I was the manager of Tortilla Coast restaurant, like down in DC. He was a server. His name was Ed, I believe, a black dude. And his dad had been a preacher, and he had done some preaching in his day as well. I think he was from Baltimore or something like that. Or maybe he was from up in Jersey or something. I can't remember. So many people, but at some point he had let slip like something. Maybe he just told me, I was just getting to know him or whatever, and he told me that, his dad had been a preacher or something, and I somehow figured out that he had done it too, and I asked, give me a little taste, like, what do you got? I want to see what you can do, and on more than one occasion, I sweet talked him into to spitting a little bit, and I distinctly remember him kind of freestyling because he would sort of take whatever it was that we had just been talking about, or he would take in, visual cues from the surrounding environs and use those as a starting point for doing a little preaching. So, for example, he would say, you know, I don't know, like, he'd say, oh, like, well, I could take the occasion of this dinner rush that we just got through that was so busy to say that in Galatians 2:12, God tells us that we need to slow down. God says, "Be slow, for thou art blah blah blah," and he goes and it shows us that we too in our lives need to slow down. Like he could just do that. You know what I'm saying? Like he could just take something, find a Bible passage, quote the chapter and verse, and what that meaning is, and he had 100 of them at the ready. You know what I mean? Like I could go like, all right, give me another verse, give me another verse. And he's like, well, you got the book of Paul too, that tells us this and that. It's just kind of an amazing thing, and it's a skill, it is a skill like any other. And it's a performance based skill. It's an improvisational based skill. It has the Venn diagram crosses over with things like freestyle hip hop and Jimi Hendrix playing a guitar solo. There's elements of that in all three of those things. So a fascinating movie, and one amongst a lot. I mean, we should talk about Apocalypse Now a little bit, shouldn't we?
Yeah. I mean, it's a tremendous movie. Like, great performances throughout the thing. Douglas is just gives one of the performances of his life.
Wait, who?
Michael Douglas, or no,
Sheen.
Sorry, Martin Sheen. Sorry, I don't know why I was thinking Michael
You're
Douglas.
thinking of Falling Down.
And it's crazy to me, man, when I see like a Martin Sheen movie from when he's young, and you're just like, oh my God, dude, Charlie Sheen, just like they were just mirror images of each other, dude. Like, holy moly.
Well, when you think of the Duvall performance here, it's interesting to hear you say that The Great Santini was, you said, like a year after this, right?
It was the follow up to this movie. Yeah.
Yeah, it was coming, and it's really interesting when you look at the character that he played in The Great Santini. I mean, he was basically like a Marine Corps fighter pilot. So he had the sort of intelligence and dexterity and skill, the know-how of a pilot, but he had the hoorah, I'm a badass of a Marine. And when you look at those are kind of the two qualities that his character, with one of the all-time great names in all of movie history, Kilgore.
Yeah.
Kill and gore are the two words that make up that guy's
So
name.
there's Sheen has a great line in it where he said that when he first starts talking about Lieutenant Colonel Kilgore, he goes, he was one of those guys that just had an aura about him. I mean, it wasn't aura that he said, maybe it was a different word, but it was like, essentially, you could tell that this guy was going to just, he was not going to die. Like, he wasn't going to die here. He was going to live through this war. And you could just tell that, immediately upon seeing him. And he does. And he's this like very electric performance. And it was very interesting because he was part of the cavalry division. And, they make the parallel that's like they gave up their horses for, for Hueys, for Huey helicopters, and you have all of those different things, the flight of the Valkyries, and it's just like there's so much going on in that, like, and that's only like a 20 minute portion of that, and it's a pretty long movie, but it's only like 20, 30 minutes of that whole movie is that little chunk. And to me, it's the most memorable part of that movie. To me, it's the part that sticks out in my mind. Like,
I would say it's the most memorable. He's the most memorable sort of like side character in the film. I mean, I have a hard time saying it's the most memorable part of the entire movie, but memorable, not memorable. Let's talk about the performance in specific, because we don't have a lot of time left,
Okay.
and we're supposed to be talking Robert Duvall here. The thing that I always love most about it is that it gets quoted. The second to last line probably gets quoted more, but it is the final line and look on his face that tell you everything you need to know about that character. I mean, that character was inserted in this movie to represent the insanity of war. Right? Because this guy is a walking contradiction. He appears to be completely competent at what he does. These are some of the most badass warriors you come across in the entire movie. They've done it before. They'll do it again. They're an unstoppable force, and he is at their head. You know what I'm saying? They put on Ride of the Valkyries, and you're not stopping them. It's the air cav. You know what I mean? It's the modern version of guys rushing in on horses. This time they're helicopters, and he's the one at the head of it. He's dressed the part. He's got the hat on like he's a cavalry officer.
He's got the neckerchief.
He's got the neckerchief. He's fit as a fiddle. There's not an ounce of body fat on the man, and he is as lethal as they come.
They have all that back and forth about the surf and the beach, and
that's the crazy part about it. That represents the insanity of it, is that in the midst of all this war, all this guy is concerned with is finding good surf breaks, because he's learned that this kid that's been sent to him is a surfer, and somewhere back in his past he was into surfing. Like, of all things, this crazy ass guy is into surfing and has an appreciation for surfing. You know, it's just wild. And it sort of speaks to the absolute like chaos and insanity of war, that you would find a character in and amongst, you know, this situation displaying these traits that are at odds with each other. And it's the last line of his speech that sums it all up perfectly, because he says, you know, smells like victory. You know, just like, I love the smell of napalm in the morning. It smells like victory. I mean, what a great line. It's like funny and just scary and shocking all at the same time. But in the very end, he says, with an almost like forlorn look on his face, he's like, someday this war will end. And it's like, bummer.
And
bummer, man.
Like,
someday this war will end and we won't be able to. It's just,
we won't be able to blow shit up and go surfing.
Yeah. He's having the time of his life, you realize, in that moment. You know, the look on his face and what he says.
Well,
perfect.
He starts that scene like fully dressed, and then at one point he like takes off the shirt. He grabs the baby from like the mother, and he's like running across the beach, and he like does the handoff with the kid, and like there's just so much to unpack in that scene, and it's just like. And then he gives the most memorable line from just about in cinema, period. I mean, it's one of the most quoted lines you will ever hear.
It's so good. Yeah. It's so good. God. Had to be chosen for the intro. Well,
what a big bucket of wind. God bless you. Robert Duvall, you were an amazing actor, and I appreciate every minute of cinema I got to enjoy with you.
One of the all-time greats. Beyond the Slipstream salutes you. We'll leave it there. Thanks for listening, and join us next week for more talk about something that we will decide in the very near future. Until then, for my brother Justin, I'm Matt Harper. We'll catch you next time.
Beyond the Slipstream is a companion to the Team Bus and is produced by Harperama. Find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Please like, subscribe, leave a review, and tell your friends about us. Thanks for listening. Talk to you next time.
Ale!